For the last few decades, the question of plastic has left scientists, product designers, and high school students preparing for science fairs scratching their heads. Sure, there were some solutions, but none really worked. There were paper straws, which would just dissolve in your drink, or metal straws, which, as anyone who was naive enough to buy one would tell you, can never be washed. But all of that might have changed with the species of savior worms. First up, these worms ate only plastic, and seemed to have done fine. No, these worms didn't munch on anything else. No leaves or grass or a prized wooden table. Their system survived on polystyrene, aka styrofoam, for 3 weeks straight. What's most surprising about this project is that they also gained weight in this period. This means that their system was able to metabolize and subsequently degrade plastic. Otherwise, the worm's digestive system would have become yet another dump site for our huge reserves of plastic. The trial looked something like this. Scientists had 3 groups of worms. They gave a standard diet of bran to one, a styrofoam to the second, and, well, starved the third. Cruel, we know. Well, moving on. The bran-fed worms performed the best in the trial. Their weight more than doubled, followed by our plastic-fed pals. Woohoo! There was a minimal increase in their weight, but even that is being touted as significant by researchers. The starvation guys maintain their baseline weight, which we think is a huge feat. The main argument researchers are using is that these worms are getting their energy from styrofoam. This means that we can harvest a species of worms that survives and thrives on plastic alone, solving potentially one of the world's biggest problems. So what other evidence do they have? Now, the second metric the research used was activity. Bran-fed worms were bounding from one petri dish to another, looking for some way to burn off the excess energy. Our plastic pals were somewhat active. I mean, they really just mindlessly moved about on the styrofoam and pecked at it once in a while. Our starving friends kept completely still for these 3 weeks and used this time to meditate upon the larger things in life. The third metric was the rate of pupation. This happens when a worm shuts itself off in a cocoon and emerges. No, not as a butterfly, but as a magnificent beetle. Our bran-fed bros came on top with a 90% pupation rate, followed by the plastic pals, who pupated, that's a real word, at a rate of 60%. Our starving worms got the worst end of the stick at a dismal pupation rate of 10%. Wait, does this mean they just died? Now, the final test was figuring out the enzymes in the microbiome. Basically, just seeing what component in their gut was helping worms digest the stuff. For that, scientists froze some of the worms from each group at the beginning and end of the study, as if starving them wasn't enough. Scientists found out that, on the whole, the plastic was bad for the worm's gut. Yeah, no surprises there. There are, however, some enzymes in their digestive system that makes these worms particularly pro at digesting plastic. This provides a glimpse at how the gut breaks down plastic, and how this can be replicated in recycling efforts. But wait, not so fast. The study isn't without its flaws, and there is a reason, or several, that many scientists don't quite share the enthusiasm of these researchers. And now, why are scientists skeptical of the worm study? I mean, we have endless reserves of plastic mounting in our landfills, ending up on our coast and choking our marine life. Enter these guys who can clear the plastic at little cost. What could go wrong? Plenty, as some scientists have pointed out. The first problem is, how will you scale this study? Even farmers full of slow-moving worms won't be able to finish off the gigantic amounts of plastic we have in the world today. As an aside, that would be a pretty cool movie idea, no? A super species of plastic-eating worms that go rogue and overrun fields and offices and tourist spots. It should remain a movie idea though, which is why it won't be smart to harvest these worms. Even if it could be scaled up, there will be newer health problems. Worms could munch through plastic, leaving us with carcinogenic or cancer-causing co-products that might even be dangerous to touch. The third problem is that we aren't really sure if the worms are actually eating the plastic. We mean, sure, the worms are getting energy out of styrofoam, but that could be from the flame retardant inside it, and not really the plastic. So where does this leave us? In a somewhat confusing place, to be honest. Some scientists responding to the study have thought of possible ways this might work. So you could do another more exhaustive study to figure out the microbes responsible for the degradation, and use them in a lab setting to break down plastic and engineer its part into something like bioplastics. Scientists have made it clear that a technology like this, even in the impossible scenario where it is scaled up, wouldn't exactly be good news for the planet because of the host of health risks it will introduce. The only option left is to, well, go for a good old ban. Apparently, no amount of plastic-eating worms or fungi, yes, those have also been described, can keep this menace at bay. We might not be so sure about the feasibility of these plastic-eating worms, but we finally have a definitive answer to one age-old question, i.e., would you still love me if I were a worm? Fellas, the next time your lady asks this, tell her you would love her enough to not put her on a plastic diet, since that will disturb bacterial diversity in her gut. And now for other news. India is banning single-use plastic. Phew, looks like there is one country that is seriously looking into what looks like the only practical practical way to rid our planet of plastic: a ban. The ban will be enforced from July 1st, and the government has already released a list of items that will be illegal to carry or use from then on. Almost all of this stuff is made from polystyrene. What will those worms eat? It all includes balloon sticks, ice cream sticks, invitation cards, cigarette packs, and disposable cutlery. Good. That plastic knife cuts through nothing. The strict measures come after India made it to the top 100 countries of single-use plastic waste generation, according to a 2021 report from the Australia-based Minderoo Foundation. The situation is even graver, since single-use plastic will make up around 5 to 10% of greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. So far, it looks like the ban has been gradual and thought through. For instance, the government said it emphasized these items since they are so small that they are harder to collect, and as a result, harder to recycle too. Once this is successful, the government plans to move to larger items. Next, Thailand figured out a unique use for discarded plastics. Not too long ago, in 2021, Thailand had two problems. First, the country had, like the rest of the world, heaps upon heaps of plastic that it couldn't really burn, dump in a landfill, or stash away in a Swiss bank account. The second problem was, there weren't enough PPE suits. This was particularly dangerous for a country that has recorded more than 4 million infections. The PPE gear was so scarce that even people with money couldn't find them on the market. This scarcity was felt particularly by monks, who were responsible for cremating COVID victims and Buddhist monks. Thai authorities then decided to use the spare plastic to stitch PPE gear for the monks. Soon enough, warehouses were rolling and flattening out the trash, processing it to make thread and stitching together PPE for these care workers. A lot of this work was actually done by temple volunteers for free. Although they aren't medical grade, these makeshift PPE suits shelter the monks from the most severe exposure. The best part, all these suits are orange to match the monks' robes. Finally, here is an innovative recycling technique from H&M. Today is a good day for fans of India who are also fans of plastic. We have got plenty of news of the intersection of your interests. This time, it's the fast fashion company H&M that has found a use for tons of plastic that ends up in the streets of India as trash. They have teamed up with informal waste pickers in Bengaluru to collect this plastic and make buttons for H&M garments. This initiative is a part of H&M's 4-year-long Samuhika Shakti project that is trying to change the perception of waste pickers in India from a class of people generally looked down upon to change makers battling environmental problems. By March 2022, 20,000 waste pickers and their families had become a part of this initiative. So the next time you get a blazer from H&M, just know that there is a high probability that the button was made possible by some of the hardest working folks ever. And that's a wrap. Thanks for watching. What did you make of the worms research? Do you believe there is some potential there, or should we just go for a full throttle ban? Tell us in the comments. As always, hit like if you liked our video and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on future uploads. We'll see you in the next one.